You know what's wild? We think money can solve everything. Better healthcare, safer cars, bigger houses. And yeah, it can. But there's one night in history that proved something else entirely. April 10th, 1912. Picture this. The biggest ship ever built is leaving port, and on board are some of the wealthiest people in America. We're talking about the guys whose names you still see on buildings in New York, the ones who literally built the country we know today. Down below, hundreds of immigrants carrying everything they own, hoping for a new life. Up top, men smoking cigars that cost more than those immigrants would earn in a year. The Titanic wasn't just a ship. It was America in a nutshell. John Jacob Astor, the man who had everything. Let's talk about John Jacob Astor IV for a second. This guy was worth about $2.7 billion in today's money. Richest person on the ship. Owned half of Manhattan, basically. Hotels, apartment buildings, you name it. But here's the thing. He was also kind of a scandal. He just married Madeline, who was 28 years younger than him. She was pregnant. High society couldn't stop gossiping about it. So they boarded the Titanic to escape all that noise. Can you imagine thinking you could literally sail away from your problems on the world's most luxurious ship? The titans of industry. Astor wasn't alone. The ship was like a who's who of American power. Benjamin Guggenheim, his family's mining empire was literally building America's future. Steel, railroads, all of it. Isidor Straus. You know Macy's? Yeah, he owned it. But people loved him because he wasn't your typical rich jerk. He treated people with genuine respect. George Wyden controlled Philadelphia's transit system. The guy basically decided how an entire city moved. These weren't just rich guys. They were the architects of modern America. And they all believed the same thing. This ship was unsinkable. The best engineers said so. The newspapers said so. Why would they worry? When everything changed. 11:40 p.m. 4 days into the voyage. There's this horrible scraping sound. Not loud or dramatic, like in the movies. More like a deep groan. Some passengers barely notice. Others feel a shudder through their champagne glasses. The Titanic has hit an iceberg. At first, nobody panics. The crew's trying to play it cool. Just a precaution, folks. Please head to the lifeboats calmly. But Astor's sharp. He's done the math. He counts the lifeboats. Then he counts the people. His face goes pale. There aren't enough. Not even close. For maybe the first time in his life, his money can't fix the problem. The choices that define us. Here's where the story gets me every single time. These men, who could have used their power, their connections, their money to save themselves, they didn't. Benjamin Guggenheim goes back to his cabin with his valet. They put on their finest evening suits, full tuxedos. He comes back up on deck and tells a crew member, "We've dressed in our best and are prepared to go down like gentlemen." Who does that? Who faces death and decides their last act will be about dignity? Isidor and Ida Straus. This one breaks my heart. Officers try to get Ida into a lifeboat. She refuses. They tell Isidor, "You're elderly, you can go." He refuses too. Ida looks at him and says, "Where you go, I go." They'd been married for decades. They'd built a life together and they chose to end it together. Their bodies were never found, but survivors reported seeing them sitting on deck chairs, holding hands as the water rose. John Jacob Astor, the richest man on board, helps his pregnant wife into a lifeboat. He could have forced his way on. People would have made room for him. Instead, he places his hand gently on her belly, feeling his unborn child one last time. Then he steps back. That's the last time anyone sees him alive. He was 47 years old. The final moments. 2:20 p.m. The ship splitting in half.
The lights are still flickering, and the band, and this is true, the band is still playing. Can you imagine being those musicians, knowing you're about to die and deciding your last act will be to bring comfort to others? Most of the American millionaires are still on deck, standing, waiting. All that money, all that power, all those buildings with their names on it, none of it matters now. The Atlantic Ocean doesn't care who you are. What changed forever? When news reached America, the country was stunned. Not just sad, fundamentally shaken. These were the untouchables. The guys who shaped the stock market, who decided which businesses would succeed, and they were just gone. But you know what? Their deaths did something their lives couldn't. Ships now have enough lifeboats for everyone, by law. 24/7 radio monitoring became mandatory. The International Ice Patrol was created and still operates today. Every person saved by those regulations, and we're talking thousands over the last century, they owe their lives to the people who died that night. The Strauss family kept Macy's going and became known for incredible philanthropy. The Astor family continued shaping New York. But their legacy became less about empire building and more about the reminder that we're all human. The real story, here's what I think about when I think about the Titanic. It's not about the ship. It's not even really about the tragedy. It's about that moment when everything we use to measure ourselves, money, status, power, when all of that gets stripped away, what's left? For the men on that ship, what was left was character, courage, love, sacrifice. They could have pushed past women and children. They could have bribed crew members. They could have done what powerful people often do, put themselves first. But they didn't. In their final hours, the richest men in America proved that who you are matters infinitely more than what you own. And that's a story worth remembering. The Titanic sank on April 15th, 1912. Of the approximately 2,224 people aboard, more than 1,500 died. Among them were some of the wealthiest and most powerful men of their era, but they're remembered not for their fortunes, but for their humanity in the face of death.